Okay. All right, 828 crew. It's me again, Coach Rees, and I am here today to have an interview, really just a conversation with the CEO of the Puyallup Sumner Chamber of Commerce, Tara. And also, we're joined by the CEO of Perez Consulting. You guys are in for a treat. It's an honor to have both you ladies here with me to have a conversation that's really just advancing what we all care to advance is equity. Today, our conversation is going to center the DEIA work that's being done over at the Chamber of Commerce. And so, Tara, I'd like to kick it to you to introduce yourself to the 828 crew.
Fantastic. Yeah, I'm Tara Doyle-Enneking. I'm happy to be here and happy to be a part of this conversation. I've been the CEO president here for 3 years, just celebrated that. And boy, what a warm and wonderful community it is, what an open community is. So adding this DEIA component has been something that, we've been, well, I'll talk about my journey in a minute with that, but it's something that is on the forefront, and we look forward to learning more about what this community wants from us with all of that.
Awesome. Thank you. And Chris, I'm going to kick it to you.
All right, Krista Perez of Perez Consulting. I've had the pleasure of collaborating and partnering with the Puyallup Sumner Chamber of Commerce. So I'm looking forward to the conversation today.
Awesome. So let's jump right in. 828 fashion. We dive head first. So Tara, just tell us a little bit more of the journey. How did this come about? Why is the DEIA work in space even something that's important to the Puyallup Sumner Chamber of Commerce?
Great. So the past 3 years was a bit of a reset for this chamber. So focus was primarily just kind of putting this chamber back on a path where folks wanted to be a part of a membership community that was the voice of business. We provide educational resources, networking opportunities, and we do a lot of advocacy. So I feel really comfortable that for the 3 years we swung boldly and robustly in those areas. Meanwhile, the pandemic happened, so that brought a whole other set of challenges. I think I have Christmas music on pretty loud here. I just realized. Sorry about that.
I just thought you wanted like that Christmas spirit, undertone. I'm here for it.
It's white noise to me, but I realized, that might be distracting. Apologies.
You're good.
So I feel really comfortable of where our chamber has gone in the last 3 years, where we're heading with that hat on, our advocacy hat, our champion of business hat on. But all the meanwhile, socially, there's other things that were happening. With the pandemic, just what that did, isolating businesses that really wanted to be able to exchange goods and services, how that challenge was different, looked different. But then, of course, with the George Floyd and politics, it really just very quickly brought to surface, let's just say, things that were kind of in front of us. And I think, it was easy-ish initially to kind of just stay focused on the pandemic, saving the business part of it. Like making sure everybody's getting what they need in the way of resources. But, pretty soon it's just kind of everywhere. And when I say it's everywhere, you can't, now suddenly people understand there is this acronym out there called DEI, and are just starting to, talk about what that is in a community. And so I was really grateful that I'm getting invited to a lot of webinars. I'm part of a task force led by Christine Gregoire that are it's called WEIR, so Washington Employers on Racial Equity. And so I'm getting invited to these things, and often when that happens, that means, hey, Tara, now what should you be doing in your community? So there is a ding, 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 but I didn't feel, I guess, armed in any way, shape, or form to start to lead any discussions without going in and diving deep into that journey for myself. So it started with conversations with my board director. It started with questions from our board of, hey, what are you doing with this? It started seeing topics at our conferences for the chamber world. So our chamber board director, Renee McLean, who's also the CFO of the Washington State Fair, sat down and we drafted out kind of a calendar year of, I think this is where we need to be with this. And so essentially we meet every monthly as a board, and every other month we gave what we called a board 30 opportunity to bring different speakers in, to bring different resources in, and just really educate ourselves. So didn't necessarily say, hey board, we're going to do this thing. We just said, let's just open, let's just be, let's get educated, let's be open-minded, let's have open, frank conversations. So what that looked like was, one meeting, the theme might have been, what are public organizations doing? So we had someone, from the school board come in and show us also some of the demographics and changes of how our, community is changing, what we look like. And what the healthcare systems are doing, brought in folks from multi-care. Then we moved in 1 month to talking about businesses and had, everything from a small business owner at Fiesta Taqueria to Absher Construction, who has a DEIA officer on board, full-time position. So got to hear from that, listen to what the colleges, Pierce College is doing. So sort of, and then I think also have the chambers. So we had 3 different chambers. We had Tom Pearson, the CEO at Tacoma Pierce County Chamber, that took a big, bold swing at it and shared his journey with his chamber. We also had Tulsa, Oklahoma, and Billings, Montana. And why I liked all 3 is I don't think we're any of them. And so it was great to just hear in what different ways they were, I guess, I don't want to say rolling out, but essentially introducing DEIA conversations, resources, discussions. Some changed their mission statement as well. So all of that was a very targeted sort of agenda for our board that was to lead up to a board retreat in October, where we would get a facilitator to now sort of say, now what? We've learned this, and now where do we go from this? And along the way, we also formed a DEIA task force, which consists of 4 of our board members, and then myself and a staff member, and all of us from varying backgrounds, sharing our journeys. And then we sort of got together to determine what would this board retreat look like. And that's when we got introduced through Lawrence Garrett to Krista Perez, who was the right facilitator for our board at the right time and did a great job. And that was in October. So I don't know, Krista, maybe you can share a little bit about what we came to you with. She did come to one of our task force committee meetings first to help us determine what do we want to accomplish at the board retreat.
Sure, I'll go ahead and step in. When the chamber came to me, or the task force really came to me, they were saying, listen, this is what our journey has looked like. We feel like this is really something that's important. We need to learn more about, but we're unsure of how to move forward and really just an equitable way, right? Because oftentimes folks can say, oh, this is what we need to do, and this is how we're going to do it. I really admire that the chamber, Puyallup Sumner Chamber, said, you know what, we really want to hear from the community on this. We feel that, we don't know what's perhaps best for them. We want to hear from them on what's best, right? And also decide together as a board at the retreat what the next steps might look like. And so I was really happy to hear that. We had one session at the retreat, and it was really great because everyone, really got to kind of share where they're at in their journey, as well as what makes sense for the board. What do they have the capacity to do as a chamber, right? And what that might look like, right? So that really just, we're kind of just right there. I think the task force is some options of how to move forward, a definite decision that they want to move forward with DEIA work, and we'll see what comes next. They have a deadline of March, and I think the great piece was that it was decided that they want to engage the community, right? So community members in business, folks of color that can give feedback on accessibility, on what they're hoping to see from the chamber. So
yeah, and as far as, I guess, additional takeaways, it was very quickly decided, just even, well, Krista brought light to us when she took us on a journey through our website. And just forgetting like what you look like and who you're presenting and what pictures you're putting up. So just the very, I guess, simple fact of slowing it down a bit, and being very mindful of the image we're portraying, and do we seem welcoming? Do we look like our community? And so I know that we've, made a bit of an intentional shift there with even just, capturing photos at our events, and what the kinds of events we're promoting have really been, I would say, a lot more multicultural. And so, that very simple change, but then also you'll soon see more resources being built out when you tap into folks that are in our community that are doing this work. We don't have to have the answer to every problem in the chamber, but we should hopefully be able to point you in the direction of people that might lead you to that correct answer. So even just having resources like a Krista Perez and this group and Lawrence Garrett, so that should organizations right now want to I guess grab onto that, embrace that even more right now, we should at the very least have those resources out there. We should make sure our programming is aligned, where we're having some business breakfast, lunch and learns that may have some of this accessibility and equity kinds of slants, I guess, if you will. So that was very easily decided that that's a now thing. And then the task force will spend the next 90 days just sort of going from there, like then what? And then they'll come back to the board and at the end of March.
Wow, that's I love it. I'm looking forward to checking back in the 90 days and seeing, okay, what has been, accomplished in that. So, but a question I have is, what role does equity play in creating a more equitable role in the workplace? Is that going to be something you're looking at over the next 90 days?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I think that at every turn, we're now having to, like I said, kind of going back to that, just being more mindful of who are you inviting to the table. You come into our office, and I mean, I hate to admit it, I am the first to admit it. We're 5 white girls, and that wasn't intentional. Sometimes that just happens by, I happen to know 2 of these people in my circle. That's how they got here. But again, not that I'm resetting and clearing out staff. I have phenomenal staff, but again, just being mindful of the equity that should be coming from all of the decisions we're making, and especially as we're developing out programs. We're really good, and I will say, I was on the Tacoma Pierce County Chamber Board for 4 years prior to this role. And I really loved that we did a board composition survey every year. So we really looked at the black and white, and metaphorically, of who we are. And I mean that culturally, I mean that industry, I mean age, gender, all kinds of different factors. And so that we could really quickly identify our holes and our, that we needed to fill. And so that was something I brought to this chamber board right away, is let's do the same thing. Let's do a board composition survey. And so just in the last 3 years, it's been pretty cool to see the diversity on our board. Again, how we look, how we think, where we live, the industries we come from, so that we are better serving our entire membership community.
Nice. And that's great to hear, which leads me actually organically into my next question of, we know that resistance, right? Not everybody's a fan of DEIA work in many spaces. And resistance is expected when you're doing this type of work, especially in the workplace. And so what unique challenges are you facing right now as a chamber, and what's your plan to move through it?
The plan I'm going to get to, because that is the toughie. The challenge is there. And the challenge is there for me. I'm a leader of an organization that is charged with being the champion of business. So there's that advocacy component and making sure our members have resources and education that they need. But there's also a certain ROI that needs to happen. I need to make sure that I'm also bringing dollars into this chamber so that we can keep moving forward the work and the mission we want. So when you talk DEIA and other things, sometimes that there's no real ROI associated with that. So when you start talking about where am I going to spin my wheels, that's where I have to slow down, because I'm an executor, and I'll talk this long and then I just want to execute and do. So this is the most intangible thing I've had to wrap my head around. This is something I've really had to put that empathy hat on and slow down and recognize is important. And also try to communicate that to others as well, because where's the action item? And I think that's that's where I went at the board meeting too. Okay, so what's next? So what do you need me to do? Let me just fix it. Let's just do this thing, whatever this thing is. And so that's the challenge. Part of it is that the intangible part of it. And then it feels like talking. And so I really am happy that, again, the talking part, the sharing part brought me probably to the greatest leap that I needed to get to. So I think that that's still going to be important to provide those avenues and those sort of spaces for people to share more. Because again, I just don't know that you'll get there unless you're giving me an actionable item to do that. So the talking part is important. And you're going to see on our board folks that are challenged, that with some that are just, of course we got to do this. And I'm a woman minority, and I know what this feels like, where others are like, it's just business, let's go, it's business, and we need to keep our business hat on. Does this feel like business? So it's a challenge when you have now 17 board members who might be all on different parts of the spectrum. But it's there, it's in front of us. And I think like the community, we're grappling it with the same way that we can expect our community to grapple with it. So it's real, and we're trying to be transparent with it. But I don't have an ultimate plan other than this task force bringing more to the table and realizing it's going to be a little clunky for a while. And guess what? There might not be an ROI, but it's important.
And what's cool, I think, about, the ROI when it comes to people is you might not see it right away, right? It's not the same when it's from a quantitative stance, but it's going to impact the community through and through. And it's great to hear that you're an executor, because I'm an executor myself, which usually means that we stick to things. So that leads me kind of to my next question. It's December, 13th, which means the new year is right around the corner. And somebody who's an executor, it sounds like you like goals. So what is, a goal or an initiative? And if that doesn't work, then just tell me about the journey that you're on as a task force in a chamber to kind of achieving maybe some of those bigger goals that could, produce the ROI that you're looking for.
And I guess that's where I sort of say, we have a task force that's been tasked with that initiative. And so it's not my opinion imparted. I get to be a part of that discussion. And wherever we come out with it, I might be 100% on board, or I might be 83% on board. I'm only one piece of that. As a chamber head, I'm the one who will lead that effort. But I can't really say what that initiative will be, because we're going to go get those 5 community members that are from varying backgrounds. We have our board members, and so we've got some work to do in the next 90 days to sort of see where we end up. Certainly my initiative and my plan is that we come, that this group works well together, and that we, do have some sort of clarity with how and where we want to go with this.
That's awesome. One thing I know about clarity is it breeds confidence.
Yes.
And so that's the exciting part, is you've got clarity, you've got a direction, and it sounds like you really have commitment as well, which is also the one thing that you need, especially when it comes to equity work and creating equitable workspaces and places. So Krista, do you have anything that you want to add else to the conversation?
I just wanted to say, I think that, it's kind of an unspoken, or it's an informal initiative that the chamber will be seeking out 5 community members. And I think that should be emphasized, because they're really looking to hear from the community, the business community, what they need in terms of DEIA work, just in general, right? So instead of just going out there and saying, this is what we're going to do because this is what we think everyone needs, they're saying, okay, let's hear what we need to do, right? What people are hoping to find here at the chamber. So I'm excited. I think it's going to be good.
Yeah. Go ahead, Tara.
Oh, if I may, just you asked about into the new year and going forward and plans, goals. I'm really excited. The meeting right before this was with a gal that is leading the effort to help Puyallup celebrate Puyallup with an event, kind of a cultural event called the Black Experience, and using February as Black History Month to really have our entire community embrace that. So there may have been events here and there that pop up, but boy, does J. Marie have a lot of energy behind, no, let's put this on the map and let's partner with all of our nonprofits and organizations and churches and business community. And so the chamber will definitely be a key partner in that. We have communications that we put out every week called Chamber Chatter. And during those communications, we do something called a member moment video that we film. And so we will be looking to some Black-owned businesses just to kind of hear their story and feature them throughout the whole month. We'll start with J. Marie. We'll do our best to promote this event and turn them on to other vendors that could be a part of the night market aspect of it. But it just sounds great. And I love that maybe in a different time, someone would not reach out to Chamber to partner on something like this. But that's just right there, a great example of the times and also just the welcomeness and the openness that I guess the Chamber is showing that we want to partner and be a part of things like that. So I think that when you talk about goals and plans for the new year, I think you're going to see us at the table at things like that as well.
That's awesome. So everybody in the area, if you're in the Puyallup area, make sure that you are plugging in and being a part of the movement. So Tara, it sounds like you're doing a great job. Krista, thank you so much for, coming alongside and guiding them. And also that accountability. I heard that you got 90 days to present something. So Tara, make sure you're, keeping the team executing as you're doing. And so thank you guys for being here. Thank you for taking the time, one, to do this such important work, but also just being committed, to being your best selves. And we truly appreciate that here at 828. We're all about equity and advancement for individuals and communities. So thank you guys for this. Again, thank you, Tara, for being here. And thank you, Krista.
Absolutely.
Coach Rees, and I'm out. Thank y'all.
Oh, thank you guys. Appreciate it. Bye-bye.